Good. Okay, good morning, everybody. Chairman Beatty is got a prior commitment that he's running late or may miss this. But good morning on Friday. Welcome everybody to the agenda review. Assistant Manager Tim Kaufman, take us over.
Thank you, Chair Pro Tem. Brandon, you want to talk about what we have for the opening, please?
Of course, we'll have county announcements. Election Commissioner Laura Rainwater is going to join us to talk about voting sticker contest that will kick off next week. The I voted sticker contest for grades 6 through 12, and then a new addition this year, future voter sticker contest for grades kindergarten through 5th grade. So she'll be in to talk about that, as well as we want the public to be aware of annual stormwater management meeting. It's going to take place next Friday, 9 a.m., the basement training room of the Sedgwick County Public Works Building. And that's all we have for county announcements.
Thanks. Okay, item A might be one of my favorite agenda items over the last 25 years. It's the retirement announcement. Item B, we've got Jeff.
Wait just a second. On item A, how come there's an S after retirement? Is it singular or there?
I don't know.
Just you.
All right. I didn't do this item. I didn't prepare this item. Jeff Fleur is going to come in and talk about do an annual update on how things have gone for the partnership. Item B is a contract extension with KDOT for the Northwest Expressway project. The amount anticipated is 800,000 rather than $1 million. Lynn, do you have any comments?
This item is what I've contacted you about previously. This is KDOT. Our 5-year agreement with KDOT ended in March of this year. This is a 1-year, basically extension of that contract, so that to get us by, for which will hopefully be another 5-year extension once the MIS is done, and we make some plans for what the future will look like with the Northwest Expressway. It's basically just a gap filler for that.
Okay, well,
yeah, I just wanted to, I guess, clarify that we had the exact same item last Wednesday. We pushed off a delay, and the delay was because I wanted to see some amend the language to provide some protection to the county based on the imminent results of MIS. I wanted to just say that, and I came up with 2 different methods to do that, but I have not seen exactly where we are with proposed language to get us to where we need to be before we adopt this item.
And I can address that, Lynn. Justin Weiner, County Councilor. Commissioner Howe, at this point, I think the thought was to have a discussion in case other commissioners felt similarly as you might. As I understand it, and do you want me to go into it, Commissioner Howe, or do you want to address it? Okay, as I understand it, the concern Commissioner Howe had on this was making sure that there's an ongoing study that's supposed to be completed roughly first quarter of 2026, I believe, on this. What's that? Oh, by summer of 2026. Okay. So maybe second quarter, sounds like. And that the idea that Commissioner Howell had is that it could make sense to make the funding that the county may provide on this. Currently in the draft agreement, it says that we would agree to deposit no later than March 1st, 2026, but to have that funding be contingent upon the study saying that there is a need for the Northwest Expressway or Northwest Bypass, however it's referred to, and a positive outcome that is in fact needed, instead of providing the money and then finding out later. And I think the time frame that Commissioner Howell had in mind, which I mean, that's a separate component, but related, would be to have the results by June 30th of 2026. It would be contingent. The county providing the funding would be contingent upon a positive assessment from that study that there's a need for this project. And if the assessment came back negative, then there wouldn't be an obligation on the county's part to provide funding. Commissioner, how does that capture what you had in mind?
Yes, and just to be clear, I don't think a 3-month delay. Again, if we commit the funds at this meeting, that's fine. But the caveat that MIS must be favorable to the project to move forward. Again, they've got nearly over $9 million in the account that's not been spent. This is going to add it to that. Again, if we do the 800,000 and the state does 800,000, that's 1.6. So it'd be, about $10.5 million. in this account, that's not going to change their ability to purchase right away. 3-month delay is not going to cause a problem. So I just think we need to protect, make sure we have options for what we would do if the study comes back with some type of a negative response. So we want to have the options to not provide this. And so we need protection.
And-
One or the other.
And I just kind of talked through a couple things. The June 30th timeframe, especially hearing that it's going to be more second quarter, does cause me some concern on that, just because I mean, if the will of the board would still be to provide the funding, if it came in a week or two late, I don't know that you want to cut off the funding because of that. That's a will of the board determination. I think from our standpoint and legal, we would want to know if there is an interest in, from a consensus of commissioners, to approach KDOT with proposed changes to the agreement, which we could look at. But I also think you may want to hear from Lynn any comments or thoughts he has as well. So.
I think it's a reasonable response. I don't think KDOT will have huge concerns with it. I think the only thing that comes to mind, and this would be a Justin question, is we're on a calendar year, whereas they operate under a federal fiscal year. And then once we get, the key will be to make sure this hits federal fiscal year 2026 and not get into 2027. I think that would be their only request. And I think. But I think it's reasonable to make sure it's dealt on the outcomes of the MIS.
Do we know their timing in terms of their fiscal year starts July 1? So since last July 1, have they made a payment in their current fiscal year, or they still have to make that payment based on this agreement? I assume that they have to make that payment still based on this agreement.
As far as I understand, as far as making a payment into the account,
They're $800,000 from the state's budget.
my understanding is that a payment has already been made.
So since July 1st, again, since July 1st of 2025, that's the current that's their beginning of their fiscal year. They've already made a payment. So if we make this agreement, they won't make this payment again until after July 1 of 2026.
I can confirm that. But like I said, I think this is a reasonable approach to delay the payment. As long as I think potentially, and I'll ask them, but I think potentially as long as it can occur in federal fiscal year 2026, that would be their caveat.
If that's the case, I think that even is a greater reason for us to do this. If it wasn't the case where they had to make the payment yet for their current fiscal year, if that was the case, we would have a deadline of June 30th for this
Correct.
agreement to be correct. So they could actually make the payment in their current fiscal year. So that it would be a deadline we want to be aware of if they have not made a payment yet this year. So if that's the situation, we need to know that.
And I think one of the things we can do potentially is the final, it's questionable in my mind whether we'll actually get the final results of the MIS prior to June 30th. However, I think we will know whether it's a viable project or not based on preliminary submittals before then. So potentially that could be a catalyst.
Let me just wrap this up and say, I just think that the agreement, if the MIS came back negative, since there's 10 million, nearly, there'll be over $10 million in this account after this payments are made. I would like to see some type of clawback. If the project ultimately is not going to go forward, we ought to be able to get some of that money back that's not been spent on rights of way, if that was to happen. And I don't know how to write that up, but that to me is
I'll work with Justin and his team and figure out how we can make suggested changes. Again, I think as long as we can initially have something in federal fiscal year 2026, I think KDOT wouldn't have an issue, and we'll talk about whether that be a clawback or other means potentially that would allow us.
if there's a clawback feature, I have no problem making this payment anytime. That's not the concern. My concern is if we make the payment, this particular payment, MIS comes back negative, we somehow forfeit the funds and they won't give it back. That to me is not acceptable.
Understood.
We can't let that happen.
Understood.
Thanks.
I would agree that maybe a clawback would be noteworthy if in fact the MIS turns out positive, then it's all systems go. If it's negative.
And I will say,
Can I just add, are you, so this is there about 9 million in their right of way purchase account?
Yes, as of I believe it was beginning of October is when I sent an email to.
March 2025, the account was $9,199,091.
So it may have spent some of that on right away recently, but
Yeah.
about 9 million.
Is there right of way activity purchase on hold based on the MIS, or do you know?
I'm not that I am aware of.
Okay. All right.
And you may have said this. How much have we purchased already?
We've almost 40% of the right of way.
40%, so there's 60% remaining.
Correct.
Have we ever tried to do some kind of forecast to think what that would cost us to buy the remaining 60%?
I don't know if this being a KDOT project, I am not familiar if they have done some type of forecasting to figure out what that would be or not. I can definitely inquire.
Yeah, I think based on my experience on ADOT's purchase of East Kellogg over the years, right? It's their own deal that
Yeah, and I think it would.
we're not aware of.
A forecast would be difficult just because once if the project gets to the point of moving forward and we get into the construction pipeline, that's when you go active with acquiring right of way and not knowing whether we're going to have to condemn properties at this point. That's where it gets expensive.
So
Construction, right? Temporary construction right of ways.
So
It's complicated.
that's where my mind is going with our experience from the city with East Kellogg. When we go in there and we buy right away, we push for eminent domain, and then it's not engineered, and we really didn't need that right away, and we've overpaid for something. So if you know, Pete, we've been through this. There's a lot to it. So.
Yep. The nice thing that we're shielded from that unfortunately the city has to deal with is most of the times, and this is the case here, with the exception of a couple of parcels, we're talking about, no buildings, no houses. It's farmland. That's a benefit. They're not existing structures like you find along East Kellogg and West Kellogg. So that is a benefit we have in being a more rural area or suburban area. There are a couple parcels we've already obtained that have buildings on it. They've only been, compensated for that loss. And the other areas, which is really kind of in the middle, we've got a lot down by Goddard. We've got a lot up by Mays, but it's that middle area where we're still.
Maybe we could go through that in a staff meeting sometime and show the public what we've purchased and what we've got to have.
Just one more, if you want me to give you some numbers, this is an email I received, because I asked the questions and got some data back from Manager Stoltz through, I think Lynn provided this initially, but it says, again, that $9,199,091 was in the account on March 25th. It says 39.27 acres were acquired between 2019 to 2021. There were 47.9 more acres acquired between 21 and 23. That was a total of 6 different tracts. Altogether, it says that there were 22 tracts were acquired prior to 2024, bringing the total number of tracts to 29. So again, you say it's around 40% roughly of the 12-mile stretch has been acquired out of these 29 tracts. So that's where we're at.
As of the end of 2023, yes.
Do we have an estimate how much more money will be needed to purchase the remaining 60%?
And that's what I was saying. It's hard. I can definitely inquire with KDOT on that to see if they have done any type of market estimate. But it's hard to guess that because right now we're very much in a opportunistic manner of getting the right of way. Someone's willing to, they've contacted us, or we've noticed that the property's for sale. KDOT will go up and say, hey, we'd like to purchase at this time. If no one is doing anything, they're not moving, they're not doing any type of platting or anything on their property, we're not talking to them. Once we get to the point of getting the project in the construction pipeline, that's where it goes active and we start knocking on doors and sending letters. And I should say KDOT will. And then that's where then we find out whether eminent domain comes into place or what it's going to take to get that, property. And we just, until we get there, we just don't know, if this is going to be 5 years, 10 years down the road. what are market conditions at that time.
So one more piece of information I would like to see us get, and again, I think I've had this in the past, but I've lost the details. Is how much is the total investment that the county's put up so far? When did this start? So we get if 40% cost this much, we can kind of extrapolate. No, things cost more today than they did back then, and some of these parcels may be more expensive. But at least gives us an idea, I think. So to know how much money we've invested, how much has the state invested, and when do we start this? I think the matching program started about 2019, if I understand correctly.
If say that
The
again,
matching started about 2019.
it actually started before 2019. It started in 2014, but it was a lower value.
And the county did provide some funding at some point early in the process. They did not have any match funds at all.
Yes, and there were some studies, the NEPA process, things like that the county participated in.
So again, so having some data collected about that history would be very important, I think, to understand as we think about what's left here. I appreciate the work to gather that data.
So, so this letter, we're on. KDOT needs a letter, and is that right?
Well, and Commissioner Meitzer, it's an agreement. So I think this would be an amendment to the agreement, I think is what we're talking about here. And if a couple comments I'd make is just as my understanding on the federal fiscal year timeframe would be September 30th, 2026. Is that the timeframe you have in mind for 2026 federal fiscal year, Lynn?
I would talk to KDOT.
Okay, but that's okay. But that would be a time frame we may look at. If, in other words, if the study comes back by then with a positive result, that the money would be contributed. But if there's a negative result, there would not be an expectation of contribution. I would probably suggest staying away from the clawback, because then once you give the money, you have to try to get it back. I would probably suggest against that in terms of, because this is just an agreement for the money that we're talking about right now.
Well, if it's just related to the results of the major investment study, MIS, then that's probably suffice. But I would like to defer to the commissioner that has it in her district. You want to comment?
Yes, I'm obviously hopeful and supportive of this. I think that it's very much needed. So the investment's important to me. I think that it's very smart to, if it doesn't lose our position or make us look negatively to KDOT, to have this as a contingency maybe on the results of the MIS. I have full hopes and confidence that it's going to come back positive for us, but I certainly don't want to continue investing dollars into something that wouldn't be, right? So if we could do that, I agree the clawback might be a little bit muddier waters. So if we can just delay that payment based on the results of the MIS. I don't know, are they timely on their deliverables usually with those MIS reporting back to us? Is that, can we count on it to be on time, or do those get delayed often?
It would be up to the consultant that KDOT has hired. It's historically hit and miss.
Okay.
So we should have an idea coming up. Like I said, between now and really spring, we should be seeing a preliminary what they have. But as you know, we haven't had yet a follow-up since the scope meeting. So
Okay.
I don't know how much they've delved into it.
So the preliminary is a part of the agreement for that.
Yeah, there is a
Company, okay.
preliminary that will be turned in.
Okay, great.
Okay, well, I think we have consensus to adjust the agreement to related to the MIS study. Is that
Just
Yeah.
ask one more question, just the mechanics of this. If this is approved, is this something we utilize our on-call real estate agent to go out and try to put this the right away?
No, I'll stress again, this is not a county project. This is a KDOT project, so they are the ones that painted the right of way. Correct.
Thanks for the discussion.
Certainly. Thank you.
Item D is, there's one item on the Board of Bids and Contracts. It is a lengthy item. It's insurance renewals. Elizabeth's here if there are any questions, but it's an annual renewal. And then we get into consent. And before we get to consent, I want to point out that because of KAC, this meeting starts at 10 instead of 9 on Wednesday. So it's a late start. So make sure it's a 10 o'clock start.
Well, thanks for the reminder. Yeah. Okay.
On the consent agenda, item E is a renewal of a contract with WAMPO for space at the Reagan Building at the current rate. Item F is, item F and G are related ComCare contracts with DECA for respite care for kids and families, and they need to increase the total value of that contract for 2025 because there's been more utilization from 75,000 to 100,000. So that's what that first item, item F increases the cap by 25,000. And then item G is the contract for next year. It's been set at 100,000 in recognition of the increased use, which is encouraging. It's good that that contract's being used. Any questions there? Okay, item H is the annual funding agreement that we historically have with Project Access and the Central Plains Healthcare Partnership. Sedgwick County contributes $200,000. In your packet, there's a list of other contributors to that project anticipated for the 2026 budget. This is the amount that we've contributed since 2018.
What's Wichita doing in their contributions?
Same amount to 200,000. Any other questions on that one?
Historically, Project Access has been a real plus for the community.
Absolutely.
I think we've done some numerous return on investments related to that, and it's a good number that
Really significant impact on the community for folks, so. Item I authorizes the CFO to transfer funds from the highway fund to the special highway improvement or special road and bridge equipment fund. It's a year-end transfer to allow them to spend those dollars a little bit differently. There's a corresponding fire agenda item similar to that as well. Item J is the request to use 2026 public safety contingency funds for the Axon Justice premium package that District Attorney Mark Bennett came in a couple of weeks ago and kind of described what that was. This is the transfer to make that money available so that they can pay the first year of that 10-year contract. So,
just approved that
correct.
on Wednesday. So this is executing that contract.
Correct. Yes. $204,903. And then everything else is routine on the regular agenda. As I mentioned on the fire agenda, there's one item and it is a similar transfer from fire district general funds to the fire district special equipment fund. That's all we've got on agenda.
I want to go back to what Brandon said earlier. You talked about the stormwater management meeting at the SMAB board.
No, that is a requirement of our permit, MS4 permit. We have to have a public meeting, discuss what's going on with our stormwater permit, what was accomplished, what we are hoping to accomplish to meet those goals that are within the permit itself.
And who attends that meeting?
It is Scott Lindeback, our stormwater manager, moderates the meeting, and it's for the public in general, whoever shows up.
Do we typically have a public contingency there to engage the discussion?
Despite our attempts to increase notifications, there's not much of an attendance. We do have public works staff that attend, both to supplement information as well as to learn what's going on with the permit. But we don't usually get much of an attendance.
This is for the county only, or is this county and Wichita?
It's just our permit,
Okay.
our MS4 permit.
All right, thank you again.
Okay. Lynn, and thanks your crew. They didn't have to get out and do too much work, but they were ready to go last weekend. And
Yep, they were on call, ready to go. Thankfully, just a little bit on Monday, not even enough to pull them out. So we're very happy about that.
well, and tell them that we appreciate that they're ready to go.
Thank you. We'll do that.
Snowplow man, for sure. They're good. They're a good group. And so
Yes, they are.
our appreciation that they're ready to ready to perform.
Thank you very much.
Anything? Then a reminder that, so the reminder to the public is that our meeting Wednesday starts at 10
10
a.m. instead of 9 a.m. Do we have a workshop scheduled Tuesday yet? Or do we know? Staff meeting?
I think
whatever
we
call it.
do have a staff meeting.
Well, we'll find out then. Okay. Anything else? All right, Eddie. Have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.